Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do our first practice problem, which is going to be the guide plate. So I'm going to, we kind of opened everything up already. We deleted what we had on our screen, and now we're ready to start a new drawing. Now, to kind of get started right away, I like to save right away for whatever the file name is I'm going to give it. So I'm going to go up into File, okay? And I'm simply going to go down to Save As because I need to do Save As because I'm going to give it a specific name. So I'm going to do Save As. And now I am going to navigate to where I want to save to. Okay. When we set up our directory earlier, it was the first time we opened up AutoCAD, and then we kind of went back and we kind of closed it out and we went in again. So you probably don't have it going back into that directory unless you've saved since our second session. So what we need to do is we need to navigate back to that. I'm in my documents directory. I'm going to arrow down and I'm going to go to my OneDrive. Okay. And then once I'm on my OneDrive, I'm going to navigate to, in my case, mine's mechanical design classes. And then I have tech drafting AutoCAD down here. You might have yours at that first level. Okay. And then all that I'm going to do is I am going to rename drawing one. So I'm going to select down there and I'm going to say guide. I do underscores instead of spaces. You can do spaces, however you want to call it, as long as it's a, if you would, a legal call out. And I'm just going to call it guide plate here. Okay. And then I'm going to hit save. All right. Now, what you're going to notice, out of that, you're going to notice that my tab went to whatever you named it, guide plate. And up at the very top here as well, the placement of the location of this file tells me that it's guide plate 2. Okay. So now when I save, I can just do a save and it's going to go back to that spot where I just saved this at, and I don't have to do a save as and open up the directory again. Okay. All right. Let's look under our screen and at our textbook, and we're going to look at our guide plate drawing here. Now, I'm going to deviate from the book a little bit. Okay. I'm going to show you, I'm not going to say the easier way, but the more common way of creating the perimeter of this guide plate rather than putting in all the coordinates manually. We're going to do what we call interactive or dynamic input. Okay. So where we're going to start as we look around, you kind of have to always look at a part and see, like, where does it make sense to start? If you can do one continuous line all the way around the perimeter, ideal. Okay. But it's not always going to happen, and that's okay. But on this part, we can. What I'm going to do is we're going to start at this point right here. Okay. And we're going to work to the left, down, to the right, up, to the right, up, and then we're going to close. Then we don't have to deal with that angle, okay? How the book approached it, they did their lower left, set it at 0, 0, went up until they could, and then they went back over here and then around. I like to be efficient, okay? So I want to kind of like approach this so that I can do this in almost one command, which I'm going to be able to by starting up over here. So this is where we're going to start, okay? Now we're going to do a dynamic input, okay? So I'm going to show you how that works. And again, we're going to use some coordinates along the way, but for the most part, we're going to be able to kind of get this all in one line. I'm going to activate my line command, okay? Line command. And I'm going to start right about up here, okay? On my screen. And I'm going to left click, do not drag, okay? And notice that as I move to the left, do you see how this dimension, mine is like 6.26, and then and as I move it, it's changing. Do you see that? And it's also in a blue color because it's allowing me at this point, I can edit that on the fly. That's called a dynamic input, okay? So if I look back at my drawing, all right, how long is that line from here to here? 6.5, right? So I'm going to go back to AutoCAD. I'm going to make sure that it's locked into that horizontal snap line. Do you see that? Okay. And I'm going to input 6.5, enter. All right. Now, if I move down, do you see how it made it exactly 6.5 long? So good. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to move my cursor vertically down. Okay. And how tall is my part? 6.5 again. Now, just ensure that you're on that vertical stop or snap line now, okay? And once you're there, you can put in 6.5 on your keyboard and hit enter, okay? So we're not even clicking the endpoints, we're just moving the cursor in the direction we want it to go, and we're inputting the exact value, okay? Then I'm gonna go to the right. Now, this one is not a direct number. We gotta kind of figure it out, don't we? Oopsie. So if I look here, you'll notice that overall from that bottom corner, overall I'm 8 minus 2.5. So to here, from here to here, how long is that? 5.5, right? 5.5? Yep. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to AutoCAD and I'm going to push it in that direction. I'm just pushing it to the right. Okay. And now I'm going to make sure that I'm on that horizontal snap line, and I'm going to go 5.5. Enter. And it made it 5.5 long. Now I'm going to push my cursor up, get that vertical snap line, and that's going to be 2.5. Enter. Right? Then I'm going to go to the right, another 2.5. Again, just pushing. I'm not even clicking on the screen. 2.5, enter. And then I'm going to go up. This one I have to figure out again. So if I go back to under here, from here up to that point, it's 5.5, but I already did 2.5. So what's left is, looks like 3 inches, right? Okay. So I'm going to push up, make sure that I'm on that vertical snap line, 3, enter, okay? And now I have 2 options. I can either do C, enter to close it, or I can go and I can activate that endpoint, click, and then either hit escape or enter to end my command, okay? How'd that go? Awesome. Does anybody not quite get there? That's okay if you didn't. All right. So I default to that method more often than not. We do a lot of horizontal lines. We do a lot of vertical lines. And just by pushing my cursor in the direction along those snap lines, I can get a lot done. Okay. So that's a very popular way to input your coordinates. All right. So we've got the full perimeter already done. You can, as we look, they took a longer time to do this. So they went a couple pages here. Now, I'm not saying mine is better, but I think it's a little bit more efficient. That's what I like. They also use the snap and the grid, and I don't want you guys to rely on that. I really don't. It's more of a crutch than anything else, okay? So this gives you more flexibility because more often than not all your dimensions are going to be to an even increment, 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch. They're going to be odd, you know what I mean? Then you got to try to mess with it or turn it on and off, and then you just don't have to worry about it. Okay, so we're down here. We have the full perimeter. Now, I always like to say, I'm going to save as often as I don't want to redo what I just did. So unless you're like, that was really fun, and I would love to redo that again. But in case you lose it, now is a good time to do a save. So I'm going to do a file, and I just have to do save because I've already named it GuidePlate, and I have it in the directory I want it to be in. Just as a suggestion, a good question came up on the break where, what if I don't get access at home to my OneDrive and I want to pull up this drawing? Something and you may not have your flash drive with you tonight. Another way that you could back up your files, you can at the end of the night, just to make sure. So if you log on at home and you're like, I'm not getting my OneDrive, I don't know where it is, and now I don't have the stuff that I did at school. What you can do is email yourself these files at the end of the night. That way, when you go home, you can always, download them from your email, and you can then pull them up from like your downloads folder. Does that make sense? So that's a good idea. I know students who have done that before. Okay. So if you don't have a jump drive, you're not, going to just lose everything or not have access to it in case. Oopsie. All right. Okay. So we have our perimeter. Now, if we go back to our original drawing, we've got 2 circles that we're going to be putting in. Okay. Here's our original drawing. Now, in the procedure that they did, and again, it's not a bad procedure. They set their 0, 0 down here at the absolute coordinates and went around and used coordinate input, okay? Which is fine. We didn't. We just randomly picked a point, right? So, but what we are going to do is we are going to reference the centers of these holes to the edges that we see here. So the first hole that we're going to be putting in here as a circle, we need to find its center, okay? And its center is coming from that lower left-hand corner. Now, If we did set it at 0, 0, we could just put the absolute coordinates in and we'd be ready to go. But I'm going to show you what you can do instead. All right. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to demonstrate this first for you, and then I'll redo it with you. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we want to go from that lower left-hand corner, and it is not on 0, 0. So I can't put in absolute coordinates. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my circle. I'm going to select center diameter. Just wait for a second because I'll do this a second time. Center diameter. And I'm picking diameter because they're giving us the diameter or the distance across for that circle. Now, my command line says specify the first point or the center point of that circle. Okay. Now, if I was at 0, 0 at that lower left-hand corner, I could do it. So you might be like, well, we should have done that. No, don't worry about that. We are going to use a command called from. So I'm going to set my base point. So we are you don't have to worry about this. I'm going to show you how you do this. So down in the command line, I'm going to just type in from. Okay. FROM, from. And now it switches its mode and it says, oh, where do you want your base point to be? Guess where we want that to be? That lower left-hand corner. So we want to snap to that endpoint. So make sure when you get there, you get this little green pick box. I'm going to snap there. Now it says, okay, tell me where you want that to be. Now, remember, we have two ways to enter coordinates. We can do absolute, but that's always going to go back to 0, 0. We want to go from or relative to that base point that we just picked. Okay. So I have to put in here the coordinates, but before I put the coordinates, I need to put the @ symbol. So notice, I hope you can see it. It's by my thing. The @ symbol is in front. And then I'm going to put in my X coordinate is 2.5, comma, and 3 is my Y. Enter. And now it found the center of my hole. And now it's asking me, if you're like, what does it want now? Look at your command line. It wants the diameter, which is 2.5. Enter. Okay. So let's do it again. So I just wanted to give that to you. This is going to be something that's going to come in so handy, so handy. All right. So we are going to go to the center command, or I'm sorry, the circle command. Make sure you go down to center diameter. So you're going to hit that little like triangle that's underneath there, and it's going to open up more. We want center diameter. Okay. And it wants to specify our first point. We are going to say, we want to go from, just type in from, FROM, enter. And we need to specify the base point by clicking on it. So we're going to get close to it so we can do that endpoint. Now we want to go relative to that. So we need to put in the @ symbol first. So Shift 2, notice your @ symbol goes in there right after it says offset, but it's like offset from that point. And then we want 2.5 to the right of that point, 2.5, so a positive value, comma, 3, enter. That's the center point. So the from command. And then now it's asking me, because what does it want now? It wants the diameter. So 2.5, enter. Okay. How'd that go? Very handy command. You are going to use it all the time. You're going to love it. They don't show you that in this book at all, anywhere. It's a pro tip, by the way. Not really. It's pretty common. All right. Now, we've got another circle that we need to put in. Okay, we need to put this smaller one, and this is a diameter of 1.5 inches. Now, you're going to notice that this one is dimensioned from the upper left-hand corner. Okay, so from the upper left-hand corner, we're going to set our base point from, and it's going to be 5 positive, but it's going to be a negative 1.5 to the center of that hole. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Because we're going from that upper left-hand corner. So let's go back to AutoCAD. I'm going to do another circle diameter. Now, when you have one of these little down arrows, what it's going to do is it's going to remember the last command that you had in there. So notice that what's populated here by the top of the circle now is the diameter that we just did. So you don't have to go back down into the arrow. It's going to be right here. You can just activate it on the top, and you can verify it at the bottom. Oopsie. There we go. That it's going to be the center. So now it wants to know what the center point is, okay? We're going to do, again, type in from, okay? From, we're going to specify that upper left-hand corner, okay? And then it's going to be from that point, relative to that point, we're going to do the at symbol, and it's going to be a positive 5 in the x, comma, negative 1.5 in the y, okay? Here's the center of that circle, and now it's asking me, what's the diameter? 1.5, enter. Okay. Any questions on that one? How'd you do? The key here, first of all, is due to the from, specify your base point, and then you're going relative to that point. So don't forget to put the at symbol before you start putting numbers in. Otherwise, it will go back to the absolute coordinates. You have to put that at symbol in. Make sense? And that page for the relative is right here. Okay. All right. We're done. It's done. So now we can do a file. We can do a save one more time. And that is our guide plate. Now, this is a practice problem, okay? When you hand in your practice problems, I'm not going to have you hand in the file, okay? Otherwise, I've got to download them, pull them all up and stuff like that. The best way to hand it in for me is going to be with a PDF, okay? So how we do this, let me just look at something really quick. Let me just check one more thing. I'm just thought of something. If I do an export, shoots. Okay. All right. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is we are going in SolidWorks, you can save something directly as a PDF, but I don't see it in AutoCAD. I was hoping maybe it would be there, but it's not. So yes. Thank you, Woody. Let me do that really quick. Plot. That's right. That's right. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. I knew it was, and it's kind of a little goofy. So in AutoCAD, it is a little goofy. You can print to a PDF. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do that here so that then when you get that PDF, that's what you're going to upload to the Dropbox. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, and instead of going to Save, in other programs, it's usually in Save, but thank you for that reminder. We're going to go to Plot. Years ago, they called the plotters that we would print on plotters instead of, they were pen plotters. Keep that number. And then what we're going to do is we are going to not send it to a printer, but we're going to go and we're going to arrow down where that none is. And we're going to go to an AutoCAD PDF. There's an Adobe PDF. I think Adobe or the which one? I think any one of these are going to work. I think the one that I normally do in here is the Adobe. So I'm gonna pick that one. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to specify, it's the letter size paper, which is totally fine, but we are going to want to window around our part, okay? If we do display, you have to have it centered. So I think window is always easier. And this is going to be a click, click, don't drag. So upper left-hand window, click, lower right-hand window, click. And then we just want it to fit to paper. You don't have to put this to a scale or anything. I just want to see that you created all the geometry. And it's always a good idea to do a quick preview, okay? So we're just going to hit a preview and it's going to show us. So just make sure everything's on there. If you don't do the window around, you might get parts of it cut off and then I can't give you credit, okay? So make sure you do the window. And then all that we're going to do is you can go ahead and do plot. Okay, I know it sounds weird, but what it's going to do now is it's going to go and you're going to navigate to where you want to save it. So I would suggest saving it back in that same directory. Okay, so go back to your OneDrive. Mine is mechanical design. We don't have places. Oh, you don't? Anybody else get that same thing? Okay, then let's do this. Are you back at the screen right here? Okay, so we're gonna go File. You know what? If you're at home and you have Adobe on your, you'll be able to do it. I have it on mine, I guess. They mustn't have it on the things here. So let's go back to plot, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna pick a different one. Let's do, I think it's try AutoCAD PDF, just general documentation, okay? And then you're going to window around again, click, click. Okay, do a quick preview, bless you, just to make sure it's on here. And then you're gonna hit your printer in the upper right-hand corner. Does that get you where you wanna go? Does that one it? Okay.
Which one was it?
It was the file plot. It was the next one down. It is the AutoCAD PDF, the first AutoCAD general documentation. That's the one that I did. It's kind of in the middle-ish. Was that one successful for everybody? Okay. Yeah, I think if Adobe has to be on the machines and they mustn't have it on the computers here. Yep. Yep, I can show it again. So you're going to go to File, Plot. You're going to change your printer plotter to AutoCAD PDF General Documentation. And then you're going to do Window. Oopsie, Window. Upper left, lower right. Do a preview. Always preview first, okay? And then you're going to hit that printer up in the upper right-hand corner or upper left-hand corner. And then it'll navigate to a directory. And then you want to pick where you want to save it to. Okay. And I got TechMan or TechDraft thing. Good. Okay. And then I'll give you a preview and you can just X out of that. Okay. So everybody got it? Okay. Now, in Canvas, you will upload that file to the assignment, and we'll do a little demonstration a little bit later, okay? All right, so that's our first practice problem. How did that go? Good? Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here. We'll keep that for our guide plate.